What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. A lot of people have been asking me what cameras I use and what I recommend. So today we're going to be doing a deep dive. We're going to do a what's in the bag, and I'm going to show you all of my gear, accessories. Let's get into it. This is my everyday backpack. This is an Ona bag. It's leather. It goes with a lot of my outfits. So this is a specific camera bag. It's got two different inserts. First one, it's got compartments inside as well. This fits perfectly underneath, and it's got the customizable inserts so you can kind of move them around and shape them to whatever camera or whatever gear you have inside. You got an external pocket right here and then two side pouches. Let's just jump right into it. First camera right here. This is my Fujifilm X100V. This is the camera that got me into photography. Little backstory, growing up I always hated photos. I hated my photo taken, and I would just get really frustrated and uncomfortable, and I was always just kind of like turned away from cameras. I just never really liked them, which is crazy that I do YouTube for a living. But I started getting an interest in photography right after I got this camera. I kind of bought it on a whim, and I was just in my backyard just taking random pictures of everything, and I absolutely fell in love. This camera is great because it's got a lot of built-in presets, so you can just shoot directly from the camera. No editing afterwards. I really like it. It's a very easy to use camera. Compact enough that you could take it around. You could throw it into a pocket if you want, cargo shorts, things like that. Built-in flash, which I really like. That's pretty much it. I can only say good things about this camera. This is what I usually use to bring on my hiking trips, things like that. So I have like a Peak Design little clip. Just pop it right here, pop it off. This first photo right here, this was Mariah's 30th birthday that just passed. I absolutely love the way the colors turned out on this photo. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to touch them up. This is just straight out of the camera. This photo right here, this was from when I was hiking. We do our annual backpacking trip every single year. So this was in Yosemite. Again, I just keep it right here. If I see something that I like, a composition, different things like that. This is another camping photo right here. This is at one of the lakes that we stopped at and spent the night. This is my two friends that were walking in the distance. On the front, you have your aperture ring. On top, you've got your shutter speed and your ISO. Pull this out, and then inside of there, you'll notice the dial. So that is adjusting your ISO. Click it back in, and then you will adjust your shutter speed right here. This is actually the camera that Mariah and I used for our engagement photos. So Zane came with us to dinner, and this is what we brought to take these photos. It's great because it has the flash, and also I knew no matter what that the images were gonna turn out beautiful. I wasn't worried about not being in focus or anything like that. It's such a user-friendly camera. So literally turned it on, gave it to Zane. I was like, here, kind of go for this angle. He was snapping away, rapid fire, and super happy with how the photos turned out. I kind of hate the fact that the price has gotten out of hand. There's a lot of hype around this camera, especially the new one that came out, the X106. I don't think there's too much of a difference between the two. So if you find an X105V, whatever you want to call it, at a discounted rate, I definitely suggest picking it up. If you're a new photographer, they're also great for that as well, because you're going to get the confidence. You're not going to be overwhelmed trying to deal with the settings, the aperture, the ISO, and all sorts of different stuff like that. The auto feature on it is so amazing. Super easy to use. I love it. Highly recommend it. Before we continue, I want to give a big thank you to Cook Unity for sponsoring this video. If you don't know what Cook Unity is, it is the first chef-to-consumer platform delivering freshly prepared, pre-selected meals right to your door every single week. So easy just to pop these in the microwave or the oven. Let me show you what I got this week. As you can see, I'm missing a meal. I accidentally got into my box a little bit early before filming this. I made the cheesy keto chicken parm. It was unbelievable. All of these meals are created by all-star chefs, including Food Network alums, James Beard Award winners, and acclaimed restaurateurs. For today's lunch, I'm gonna be making the rigatoni pesto made by Chef Cami Sepulveda. All of these meals are created with real ingredients, nothing artificial, humanely raised meat, organic ingredients when possible, and the meals are chilled and sent fresh, never frozen, so that they're ready to heat and eat when you are. And I'm ready to eat, baby. And while that one's cooking, let me show you what we're gonna make Jordan today. He's going with the mole braised chicken created by Chef Kevin Mihan. Let me get this plated real quick. Every single week, you're gonna get these restaurant quality meals at a fraction of the price, and subscriptions start as low as $11 a meal. And now, the taste test. Cheers.
That is unreal. You have to try mine. Can I get a bite of this?
Yeah, go. And what's crazy too is like these are unbelievable, but you have over 350 different meals to choose from every week. If you guys want to try this out for yourself, all you have to do is go to cookunity.com/Heath50, or you can click the link in my description below and use code Heath50, and you're gonna get 50% off your first order. You're gonna absolutely love it. Cook Unity, thank you so much for sponsoring this video, keeping us fed, and thank you to all the chefs out there on Cook Unity that are putting these meals together. They're incredible. Up next, we're gonna go with my Canon EOS R. So this camera is very special to me. I filmed so many vlogs on this. I absolutely love it. It's great. This made me fall in love with videography. You got the 24-105, so you can, you know, get your zoom shots, whatever you need. Colors on it are absolutely amazing. You've got the built-in stabilization. It's just a very, very smooth camera, easy to use. Also, stills on this thing are unbelievable as well. I typically don't shoot stills with this just because it is pretty big, cumbersome, it's heavy, but if you are shooting something specific, a video that you want to take, I highly recommend it. Very well built. Canon, you can't go wrong. Up next, we have the Canon G7X, another very, very hyped camera right now. A lot of people on TikTok are going crazy for it. It's a great pocket point and shoot camera. You've got your built-in flash. I picked this thing up in Japan because it was a rainy trip. I wanted something small that I can keep in my pocket. I didn't want to have to worry about, you know, something around the neck, slinging it around, possibly getting wet. And this thing is so easy to use. It's so compact. The flash photography on it is unbelievable, especially at night. And this one right here is just a great daily camera to keep on you if you want to just capture images throughout the day, anything like that. I typically shoot this camera solely in auto. I use this a lot for street photography, especially if I'm like a crowded area, a lot of people moving around. I like to use this and just kind of fire away. I can also shoot this thing blindly. I get camera shy, especially if I'm in public areas trying to do street photography. I don't have that confidence yet just to pull my camera out and point it in people's face. I get really uncomfortable. I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. So this one, I literally shoot run and gun style, just kind of flip it around, different things like that. So half the photos come out not in focus or not in frame and things like that, but I'm shooting so much on it that I know for sure I'm gonna get at least a handful of images that I absolutely love. One of my favorite photos was actually taken on this in Japan. So this photo right here was actually, like I said, that pointing blindly kind of like shooting. And the photo itself, I'll show you guys the original. Doesn't look like anything, wasn't super proud of it, but the best thing about digital photography is that you could dump it into Lightroom, you can play around with compositions, editing the colors, things like that. All I did was just punch in the image a little bit, played around with different color edits, and I found that I really liked black and white for this image specifically. Absolutely love it. Again, this camera is hyped, so the price is relative to it, but you could find used ones, eBay, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, like that. Another photo that I found is this one right here. I'll show you guys the original image. I kind of just cleaned it up, did a little bit of removal. It just looks so much cleaner, and the black and white just kind of had a feeling to it that I just really enjoyed. You know, that's the best thing about shooting in color, is that you can choose how you want to edit it. There are specific cameras that shoot only in black and white. I don't have one yet. It's definitely something that I'm thinking about. I just don't know if I want to pull the trigger and, you know, buy a dedicated black and white camera. Another photo right here, this one was taken up against like a window. It was rainy, everybody had their umbrellas. It was just stunning out, so I got this shot off of a reflection. This little family right here I thought was the cutest, sweetest thing in the world. You've got the father protecting the daughter, just making sure she stays dry. They're all huddled under one umbrella, and I just thought it was the cutest moment. Also, I want to show you guys this picture that I took in Japan as well, just to show that if you don't have a camera, you can always use your iPhone. So this was on our way to go out to eat, and there was a gentleman coming towards me, looked stunning in this suit with his umbrella, and I had my phone in my hand, and I was like, this guy looks insane, like I gotta take a picture. So I just snapped it real quick, and it's one of my favorite photos I've ever taken, and it was on the iPhone. So you don't necessarily have to have a camera, you can always use your iPhone, and yeah, throw it in the Lightroom, do a couple little edits, and you'll have something that you're proud of. And that's pretty much it for the G7X. Again, I love this thing. I highly recommend it. All right, next camera. We got the Ricoh GR3. This camera I actually got for Mariah as a Christmas present, and I stole it because I love it so much. Again, great compact size. This thing is probably, I would say, the easiest, most portable point and shoot that I have. I absolutely love this thing. Slip it into a back pocket, take it wherever you want. It's a great daily camera. Again, the images on this also have different film simulation recipes, and you can have fun. You can input your own recipes that you find online. I'm finding myself bringing this out a lot more recently. So this I actually just took on my trip with Mariah to the East Coast. This one right here, this was at the zoo. The colors on it, the feel is so similar to shooting film, and that's what I really like. I've fallen in love with film recently, and there's something about it. So to have that film look straight out of the camera in a new digital camera is something that I really enjoy. And this camera I typically shoot in TV shutter priority, especially if I'm moving quickly on the go, kind of throwing this thing around. I want to try to lock in at a higher shutter speed. This photo right here, so this was at the boardwalk, a little merry-go-round. So again, shutter priority, dropped it all the way down. You get those beautiful lights that blend into each other. You see the motion in the image. It will adjust everything else for you automatically dependent on what shutter speed you're shooting at. So with this one, I knew I wanted to have that beautiful motion, so I did a longer shutter speed to capture and kind of blend the colors and give that motion look. In Wildwoods, there's a lot of like really cool architecture. There's a lot of mid-century buildings. I just really like the way the colors came out on this. It's so pretty, and it has a nostalgic, again, film-like feeling that I absolutely love. This photo right here, again, I'm kind of just all over the place when I'm taking photos. So I was walking around, I saw the bird fly above, and I just quickly flipped it up, pointed it, and captured this image right here. Again, these aren't necessarily my favorite or best photos. I'm just kind of trying to pull examples so I can highlight and pinpoint exactly what features I like about these cameras and why I use them. And the reason that I got Mariah this camera is because it's so easy to use. She is very into photography as well. Not quite at the level that I am, but she definitely likes to take photos, especially if we're out at parties, things like that. The only thing is this one does not have a built-in flash. You can get a flash that you can attach right on top. So she likes to bring the G7X out. This is her go-to, this is her favorite. All of her photos are taken on this guy. Okay, up next, we got the big boy. This is the Nikon Coolpix P1000. This camera is massive. Unbelievable for what it does though. So all of my moon photos, I like to take on this. I'm kind of a geek about space and stars and the moon and everything like that. So I got it specifically for that. The zoom on this thing is so crazy. 125x wide optical zoom, 4.3 to 539 millimeters. Also, video on this is so fun because you can zoom in so far. This is Jordan's cousin. He was on top of a mountain. In the distance, I could see that there was a tree on top of this mountain. I was like, go by that, I'll find you. So I was in the backyard just sitting here, zoomed in, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna do a backflip. So I got this video. Watch the zoom of this camera. This should not be allowed. This is absurd. And surprisingly, this camera is a lot cheaper than you would think it would be. If you're a geek about space and you like that stuff too, I highly recommend it. It's fun. It's a telescope that takes pictures. My last digital camera that I have, this is the big dog, the big boy. When I started getting really serious into photography, I decided to pick this guy up. This is the Leica M11. Absolute tank of a camera, very, very heavy, but the images that it produces are so crystal clear and beautiful. The build quality on these, if you know about Leica, you know. The lens that I have on this is a 50mm, so these are interchangeable. It's also a rangefinder style camera. If you don't know what that is, basically as you look through the viewfinder, you will adjust your focus ring right here and your images will come together. When you have the two images that line up, you know you're in focus. I wanted to slow down with photography. I was so used to the run and gun style kind of snapping away. I wanted to sit there and make a photo with intent. I really, really fell in love with the rangefinder style. I was kind of intimidated with it at first just because you might not be able to pull focus fast enough, especially if you're out and about, things are moving, scenes are changing. It can be very intimidating, but I absolutely love this camera. I wish I could bring it around with me more. It's big, it's heavy, and also incredibly expensive. I don't want anything to happen to it. I know you're supposed to bring your cameras, beat them up, you gotta be using them. But this one specifically, I'd rather not. Is it worth the hype? Is it worth the expense? I'm not sure, but I really, really, really like this camera a lot. A lot of people say that you don't take photos, you make photos, and I truly feel that I'm making photos when I use this camera. So this photo was taken in Greece towards sunset. You got that beautiful golden hour, and I just really liked the way the light was hitting the buildings there. It's just such a easy place to take photos just because everything is so pretty. It makes our job as photographers very fun and easy. These photos are from Italy, and this camera specifically just works so well with the natural beauty and topography of Italy. It's meant to be shot there, to capture the memories and the beauty exactly how I saw it, just to keep those moments alive, like to look back and like it teleports me to that time when I took the photo. This was on our boat trip, so this was just kind of like hanging out, just, you know, shooting off the boat. The detail in this camera, the amount of megapixels, you can blow an image up, you can crop, you can punch in, and you will not lose any clarity at all. I also found out on this trip that I can switch it into black and white. Leica makes black and white only cameras, so they have the M11 monochrome, they have the monochrome Q2, but I put it into the black and white setting, and this is where I kind of started to fall in love with black and white images. So this photo right here, this was of Todd, and I love the way it looks. There's a classiness to it. There's a timeless feeling to it. There's just something about it. Another cool little feature is the fact that I can turn off the screen on the back if I wanted to. It's got an internal light meter so I can make sure my image is properly exposed, and then if I don't want to see it, I don't have to see it. It'll just be a completely black screen. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about this camera. I love it, and this was a gift to myself. I like to justify large purchases by forcing me into a hobby more. I knew that if I spent this much money to buy this camera, I'm gonna be shooting a lot more photos, because if I wasn't, I'd be really upset with myself. And it worked. I did. I fell in love with photography even more. You do not need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a camera. You can get beautiful images from less expensive cameras, even your iPhone, not being afraid to just get out there and take photos. Moving on to film cameras. My buddy Scott actually gifted me this camera for my birthday. This is the Contax T2. This is regarded as one of the best point and shoot film cameras ever made. This, the T3, the lens on it is crystal clear. It takes phenomenal images, and it's so easy to use. Turn it on, autofocus, aperture right there, your flash built in. So this one right here, I've been using a lot for nighttime photography, always crystal clear, super sharp images, and I never have to worry about something not turning out. It's super compact for being a 35mm film camera. It is very expensive because there is the hype around it. I think one of the Kardashians or something said it was their favorite film camera, and prices skyrocketed, which is kind of scary because, you know, it's a old, little, tiny film camera, and things can go wrong, and you can't really do too much to fix them. I would say don't pick one of these up just for the sake of it being so expensive. There's so many other film point and shoot options that you can use that are way cheaper. I love this thing though. It's one of my favorite cameras, but they're so expensive for what it is. I really like to use this camera for taking photos of people. I'm not typically a person that likes to take photos of people just because it's not my strong suit. I will take a photo, be excited about it, think it's great. The person might not like the photo of themselves, but it could be a beautiful photo. They just don't like the way they look in it, especially if you're shooting film at the price it is. But this thing takes unbelievable portraits. Here, this was at a party. This is Todd. This photo right here is Zane. We were just in Vegas, and you could just tell from the detail in it and how crystal clear. It's unbelievable. This photo was taken with Cinestill 400T, so you get that beautiful red halation on your highlights. There's just something about it. This right here is Remy and Alicia, again, in Vegas. It's just such a fun party camera. But yeah, that's it for the Contax T2. Unbelievable camera. If you can find one for a deal, definitely pick it up. I feel like estate sales, little vintage shops, things like that might have them. They might not know what they're worth and think it's just an old point and shoot film camera. I've heard stories of people being able to pick them up for dirt cheap. This guy right here, this is actually the newest camera that I've picked up. This is the Canon QT17G3. It's way too long of a name. But this camera is so cool. I kind of bought it on a whim. I was at a camera store and I saw it on the shelf. I really liked the look of it. This is a film camera as well, so this is a 35mm and it's a rangefinder style, so it's very similar to the way you would focus on a Leica, and it just got a really cool feel to it. It's a fixed lens, so you don't take it off or interchange them, anything like that. But this camera is so fun to shoot. It gives me that feeling and flexibility of being able to pull focus on different images and things like that. The images that I got from this camera blew me away. For the price point and what I was seeing them online, I just wasn't really expecting it. Look at this photo right here. So this was taken at a Canon event that I just went to, and when I got this photo back, I literally could not believe it. I just stared at it. So this was actually taken on a new film that I've never tried before. This is Kodak Gold. It's a 200 ISO. I absolutely love the way these photos turned out. Kodak Gold is a relatively cheaper film option. This one right here was also taken from the same event. It's just got such a really cool look to it. Kodak Gold is becoming my favorite film to use now. The way daytime photos look in it are just so beautiful. You get that really rich, vintage, sunny, bright day feeling. It's a lot cheaper than Portra 400. Portra 400 is great if you're doing portraits. People look great, the skin tones are amazing. This was in my backyard. The way the colors pop on it. This one was also taken in my backyard. A couple little duckies came and flew in, and it was the cutest thing. We were having like a little pool day, and they were just like with us all day. And I snapped this photo. This is kind of just like a moment in time from that day. And I think that's what I love so much about film too, is you don't know what it looks like. You get it back after it's developed and see it and relive that moment. Sometimes I'll have a roll that I'll sit on for 3 months, you know, you don't fill it up and you kind of forget, and there's the joy of being able to see things that you completely forgot about. And I think it holds a special place in my heart. Well, I think that's it for the Canonette. Really recommend this camera, especially at the price point. If you're new or interested or want to get into film photography, I think this is a great starting point. On to the next film camera that I own. I got a little bit of the Leica bug. This right here, this is the Leica M6. This is a reissue, so Leica actually discontinued the M6. It was running from like 80s to early 2000s. They came out with the reissue, so they brought the camera back. So I purchased this, and I also picked up a 35mm lens on this. This camera has become my best friend. I feel the most comfortable and most confident with this camera out of all of mine. Shutter up here, we've got our aperture, and on the back you would dial your ISO to match the speed of the film that you're using. But again, they are heavy. It's a Leica, and I do worry about this thing. I worry about dropping it. I worry about scratching it. I also won't be out too long with it. This is more for specific things, so I'll shoot brand images with this. So like this photo right here, this was taken for a brand deal I did with Beachman Bikes. I knew exactly what I wanted for these photos, and this is like a utility tool. This is like my workhorse when I need that professional, really high quality film look. This is what I go to. These photos right here, so this was from San Diego. We were down by the beach, and I just love the fact that it is capturing, again, exactly what my eyes are seeing. Obviously, there are minor little tweaks that you can do when it comes to film. These are some more photos that I took with this camera. So this was at a wedding that we went to recently, and everybody was like playing baseball in the park that was next to it, and it was just such a wholesome moment. I was so excited to capture it on film and save those memories straight out of the camera, no editing, nothing to it. This photo right here, there was a garage that I was walking by. This guy had like an insane car collection. I just really liked the way The sun was coming off and reflecting off of the windows, and that light was just peeking through. Again, just that vintage nostalgia, old cars on film, that's my jam. This shot right here, this is of my Porsche. This is straight out of the camera. The colors are just so sharp and clean and clear. That is it for the Leica M6. And then last but not least, the last film camera that I have. This is the coolest thing in the world. This is the Canon 514 XL Super 8 camera. So this shoots cartridges of Super 8 film. You get about just over 3 minutes worth of footage. Turn it on and then you've got your trigger to start filming. Oh, I took the batteries out. This thing is so satisfying to film on. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. It is thin, but it is big. It is light though, which is nice. Zoom right here, your manual zoom, adjust your focus. It's kind of difficult to make sure that your subject is in focus. You definitely have to look at your distances on the top. That's how I can be sure. So if you look at the back right here, so this shows you how much footage you have left, right? So it doesn't say you have 30 seconds or a minute. It shows you how many feet you have, which is kind of fun because that's why it's called footage. That's how much footage you have of film. I think. I also thought about that yesterday. I could have just been making that up completely, but it makes sense to me. Footage. I'm actually going to Google it real quick before I post this. Comes from the early days of 35mm silent film when film was measured in feet, baby. Let's go. So I just brought this to Vegas. I brought it on our camping trip. I'll show you guys some of what the footage looks like. We also shot the Beachman video on this, and it's just unreal. So for daytime, I'll use the 50D. It looks unbelievable. You got that harsh sun. It looks incredible. And then nighttime, you can see in this Vegas footage, I use the 500T. The colors, once you get them scanned back, are very dull. Depending on where you get it developed at, they can do, you know, your color corrections and things like that. I opt for them not to do it just because I want to dial in the colors the way that I like. They're also very cheap. You can find Super 8 cameras all over the place. Vintage flea markets, Facebook, OfferUp, again, things like that. The only thing I will say is that the film itself and developing is absurdly priced. It's kind of disappointing just because of how much I love shooting this thing, but I know I only use this for specific occasions. You want that little nostalgic feel. It also is so fun because it shoots in either 9 or 18 frames per second. I always shoot in 18, and you just get that little bit of like choppiness, the motion to it. I'll open one up so you guys can see it real quick. These are the Super 8 cartridges. Comes in the box, and then inside that, open up that back plate, stick this in, close it, you're good to go. This camera does something to me. Let me go into some of the accessories that I have. This is just like a Kodak film canister case type thing. I keep my rolls in here and I just stick this in the fridge. Always put your film in the fridge. It kind of preserves it, keeps it longer. This little Kodak pouch, Velcro on all sides. If you're cleaning your camera, working on something, I kind of have it as like a little mat. These are cheap. I got these on Amazon. I really like this thing. I just got this recently, so this is a little film pouch. It's got a divider in the center. Film you've shot, film that's not shot yet. Kind of separates the two so you know. Also, it's lightweight, stuff a bunch of them in here. I like this for traveling, especially if I have my camera bag, I'm going through TSA. I pull this out, I say, hey, can you hand check this instead of having to deal with picking up individual rolls. Just keep it all in here, give this to them. Make sure you do a hand check if you're flying. It will ruin your film. It takes an extra second, but it's definitely worth it, especially if you're paying so much for the film already. You want to have it be the best quality. I keep extra batteries in my bag as well. One time I was shooting with the M6 and the light meter battery died. So after that happened, I said I'm gonna order a bunch of these. And I just always keep one on me just in case so that never happens again. Lens cleaners, things like that. But that's pretty much it. Obviously there's photographers out there that keep a lot more on them and they're changing out lenses and they're doing this and that. I get frustrated very easily when there's too many moving parts, there's too much going on, I get overwhelmed, overstimulated. That's why I like fixed lenses a lot. Every camera has its purpose and its strengths and strong suits of why you would want to use it, but you can also use just one camera. You don't need to have different things. It's just something that I'm very passionate about, and I like to invest in things like that. But yeah, I think that's it for all my cameras. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more of my photography, go to my Instagram. I post a lot on there. No, I don't. I wish I posted more. I need to. I also get in my head too, like thinking that people don't want to see my photographs. But I'm just gonna start posting more. I enjoy them, I love taking them. My head's kind of all over the place. I wanted to talk about a lot in these cameras, so if I did forget or miss anything, please just comment below if you have any questions, anything like that. And also, if there's any cameras that you guys are using that you like, that you want to recommend, please comment those below. I'd love to try them out also. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you soon.